Hey, child of the one true and living God. Welcome back to all my subscribers and welcome to the new subscribers. My name is Keisha and I am honored you decided to join me on this faith walk. Over here, we're focusing less on the situations we face in life and more on what did the Father say about the matter. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, I have a word for you today. It's called Kingdom Spouses. What does free will have to do with it? Please take this word back to God to confirm so he can expound on his rhema word for your situation. All right, let's jump into it. Question: what is free will in comparison to a decree from the one true and living God? When he speaks a word, it's already been established prior to him even speaking it. He wouldn't have told you your spouse or your loved one was going to be saved and y'all would be restored if it hadn't happened already. Let me say that in a different way. He said it because it's happened already. He knows the end of a thing from the beginning. He is the author and the finisher of our faith, according to Hebrews 12:2. God wouldn't have authored your faith in this promise if it weren't so already. So let's talk about free will. The Father already knows the way your spouse takes and what will be needed for them to cry out to him. Oh, side note, let this word find you in your specific situation. That's another reason why I encourage you to take it back to Father to expound more. It doesn't only have to be about a spouse, okay? So, like I was saying, he knows exactly what it will take. Think about yourself when you were dead in your sins and transgressions. You know how deep you were in it. The times it looked like you'd never change. How people wrote you off. How it looked like you'd never come out of the clubs. You'd never put down the addictions. The way it looked like you'd never break out of that cycle of sin that had you bound. If we're honest, many times when we were in our mess, we weren't even thinking about God. Some of us were saying some of the same things that our kingdom spouses have said, that they'll never serve God, or living for God is not for them, or, just different things. The only time some of us prayed was if something was desperately wrong. Some of us, not even then. I say all of that to say there was a process that led you back to God because of intervention of heaven through someone praying for you and events. Father knows how to lead us back to truth. Proverbs 19:21 says, "Many are the plans of a man's heart, but it's the Lord's purposes that shall stand." It doesn't matter what it looks like. What God said will be, shall be. It must be, in order to establish the integrity of his word. That same word he holds above his very name. It wouldn't matter who tried to come up against it. When he acts, it's finished. Isaiah 43:13 tells us, when he acts, who can reverse it? So let's look real quick at Saul, whose name was changed to Paul. That's a whole word right there. In Acts 22, verse 6 through 21, he recalls his road to Damascus experience. Make sure you go back and read it and allow Father to speak to you more about that. Your spouse is about to have an experience with God that will change the very trajectory of their life. There are a couple scriptures Father highlighted to me for the sake of this word. Verse 29 says in the NIV version, "My companions saw the light, but they did not understand the voice of him who was speaking to me." The King James Version says, "They heard not the voice of him that spake to me." John 10:5-6 tells us that God's sheep hears his voice. At the time of this happening, he was Saul. He was still Saul. He hadn't even accepted Jesus as Lord yet. And he was the only one to hear Jesus's voice. Why? One, because it was his time. And two, because he was already Father's sheep. When he was formed in his mother's womb, he was already called. The process of his life and the ignorance and basically the violation of his ways toward God never changed who God said he was. That's why God can give you a word about your spouse and it don't even look like he's even thinking about God. God already chose your spouse. There was already a plan for him to come to God from the beginning, and they will answer the voice of the Lord. In spite of their violations to the principles of God, they hear him and will answer him, and they will obey him. Verse 14 goes on to say, then he being Jesus, said, the God of our ancestors has chosen you to know his will and to see the righteous one and to hear words from his mouth. Listen, it doesn't matter about free will when God has already chosen you. Father has already factored in the different things that will lead us to make the right decisions. The outcome will be as he said. Sidebar. One of my favorite movies is The Time Traveler's Wife. I love that movie. I've watched that movie so many times since it came out, but only in the last couple of years of watching it have I gotten the prophetic implications behind it. What will be has already been in the eyes of the Father. Watch that movie and allow it to minister to you. Listen, God would not have declared anything he hasn't already seen and orchestrated at the end of a thing to be. His word is sure. The problem is you're dissecting the word God gave you with your natural mind because you're looking in the natural too much. But you have to shift your perspective. There that goes again. I have a word about that. It's time to shift your perspective, beloved. 1 Corinthians 2:14 tells us, the person without the Spirit does not accept the things that comes from the Spirit of God, but considers them foolishness and cannot understand them because they are discerned only through the Spirit. God, who is Spirit, delivered the word to your spirit, and you must continuously look to the Spirit to walk out this process. Galatians 5:7 in the New Living Translation says, you are running the race so well. Who has led you back from following the truth? Examine what and who you are following. Don't allow time, your emotions, what you see, and what you're not seeing happening yet to cut in on you in this process, to keep you from following the truth of what the Father said. Stop picking apart what he spoke to you with your human intellect. Stay focused. Stay in tune with the Spirit. Stay connected to what Father said concerning the matter. He said what he said, beloved. And it's going to be exactly what he said. Don't allow what you see to deter you from that. We walk by faith and not by sight, remember. Stay focused on what Father said to you. That's all I have for you today. Be blessed.